a little fidget toy here. Anyway, hello. Let's see, are we up and running? Welcome to the pre-show, the Hafey Digital Podcast pre-show, where I go around and make sure that everything is set up correctly before I start the actual show. Looks like we're up on YouTube. Let's go check the other platforms, Facebook. I'm doing this as if Twitch is up. We should be good, but I'm going to just double check to make sure. Boom, looking good there as well. Let's see, Twitter. Boom. Okay. And we are, yep. Okay, we're good. We're good. All right, fantastic. Got a few notifications on Facebook. Might as well check those. Waste everybody's time. Excuse me. All right. Microphone is up. Audio looks good. Soundboard audio is good. I'm only working with one camera angle today, and we will get into why that is in a bit. Oh, I know. I gotta open. Where is it? There it is. Open my chat window here. Okay. I'm going to minimize this because this is going to give away the episode. Needs to be a little bit of surprise, although even though it's in the title, don't want to give too much away. Let's look at our dashboard. Dashboard is looking good. Let's look at our... Ooh, my mic is coming in kind of hot, maybe? I don't know, maybe I can just come back a little bit. I think it's fine. Dropped frames, 0. Fantastic. And that better be the case considering I just did a speed test. It was like 250 megabits up. So, drinking a little bit of cranberry soda stream soda. It's just carbonated water with like a couple ounces of cranberry juice in it, but I enjoy it. The real cranberry juice, not like the fake cocktail stuff. That stuff's no good. I think I'm ready to go here. Got my monitor set up. Everything's looking good. So I think we're just going to go ahead and get things started. Crack the knuckles. Check the soundboard. Oh, there it is. Okay. Hello and welcome to episode number 65 of the Hafey Digital Podcast, a show for creators, makers, and doers. My goal is to help you make to the max. My name is Ryan, and in this episode, I'm going to do my best to attempt to recreate that expired film look. Let's get into it. Hello. Welcome to the show. This is the Hafey Digital Podcast, a show for creators, makers, and doers. I've already said that. Like I said today on the show, we are going to recreate the expired film look in film photography. I had a unique situation where I was able to photograph an event in both film and in digital, and we will talk about that in a little bit. But follow along as I kind of do a live recreation of that. But for those of you who are new here, my name is Ryan Hafey, and I am a photographer, videographer, podcast host, and producer. I work in boxing by day, doing digital marketing, do a little bit in FPV, and this is where I document my progress through all of those things, and also where I, divulge as much helpful information as I can about content creation and that realm of things. So if those are things that you are interested in, please hit that subscribe button wherever you happen to be watching or listening, and follow me on social media at Ryan Hafey on Instagram and Twitter. And let's have a conversation once this is all said and done. Okay, where do we start? So we got some updates from this week. First thing, for anyone interested, I've dabbled a little bit in doing some podcast consulting for anyone who's interested in getting set up and kind of doesn't know where to start. Anything gear focused, or if you're looking for a strategy or where to host or how to get things set up and to kind of get up and running. and you need someone to kind of talk through that without spending, or paying like a marketing agency to develop a campaign for you and a whole brand strategy and all that. I do consulting for $75 an hour, and I have a link tree. I should actually probably put that link tree in the description of my videos now, but it's in the bio of my Instagram and my Twitter, and there'll be an option in there to schedule a time to speak with me if that's something you're interested in. No, what's the word? No pressure on that, but that's something that's available to you. I decided to use a service called Calendly. I hate the name because it's hard to say, Calendly. But it's free to use, or at least with the trial. And I think after that, even the pro version is something like $12 a month. So I'm just kind of getting into it, but it seems pretty nice. And you can tie in PayPal if you have it, or Stripe if you want to accept payments. So looking forward to using that a little bit more. Also, I only have the one camera angle today. I used to have 3, and now I have 1. So the GoPro used to be my kind of behind the scenes angle and used to be mounted back here. But now that I fly more FPV, that GoPro basically lives on my drone most of the time. The camera that used to be right here is actually right here in this box. And the reason that it is in this box is because I'm selling it. That's right. I'm selling my Sony RX100 Mark V. And if anyone's interested, it comes with a little case here, little small rig cage, little handy little thing. It's got some connection ports there and everything. 2 batteries, 64 gigabyte SD card, all the cables, all the original documentation. Screen protector already installed. This is a great little camera if you're looking for something that can fit in your pocket. It's super compact. Something that you can take around with you wherever you go. It shoots great pictures. It shoots up to 4K 30, which is part of the reason why I was using it here, and it offers a clean HDMI out. The reason that I'm getting rid of it is because I want to do more filming in this spot here. And the problem is, like, for example, if I wanted to do a tutorial of some kind that, where I'm going to need to do screen recordings, but also be recording on these 2 cameras at the same time, I need to be able to record on these cameras separately, because to do a screen recording and then also to be recording into OBS and running that all into the computer, that's just going to be too much of a heavy load on the computer. Plus, especially because right now I'm ingesting into OBS at 1080p, not 4K, even though I'm exporting a 4K signal, it's being recorded at 1080p. So if I were to bump that up to recording 4K in OBS, then I'd really be stressing the system. So when I record, I need to be recording into these cameras individually. The problem is the RX100 tends to overheat relatively quickly when using 4K. So that's not very handy for what I need it for. So I'm planning to get rid of it. Right now I have it listed for $500. If anybody's interested, hit me up. But and I think I'm going to replace it with something. I'm leaning towards a Sony ZV-1. I want to do some more research on that one. But that I want something still compact. I like the ZV-1 for the fact that it's got the flip out screen. This one has a flip up screen, so it'll flip up this way, but the way that I mount it here, that doesn't help me very much. So something that can flip out, something that can shoot up to 4K, something that doesn't have a lot of overheating issues, and something that's not too crazy expensive. I mean, this is essentially going to be, it's just a secondary angle, kind of like a webcam. So I don't want to go too nuts with the cost on that one, and I want to do something with an attached lens for this purpose. So we'll see. I'll keep you all updated on that. And again, if anybody's interested in the RX100 Mark V, hit me up, and I'm sure we can work something out. Next thing I wanted to talk about. So funny story. So Levi Allen, who I've mentioned a couple times on the show in the past, he is a YouTuber, an adventure filmmaker. I had the privilege to spend a few days with him and Jevin Dovey, another YouTuber, on a weekend retreat. Again, I've talked about this before. He recently started doing kind of these live streams with his own kind of podcast studio setup. And I was on YouTube one day just scrolling through, and I noticed that he was doing a live stream. And on this live stream, he was just bringing in people from Zoom to come say hi. So I chimed in and joined the Zoom thing, and he brought me on, and we talked for a little while. And at the time, I guess at the time that I was talking to him, his podcast studio wasn't fully ready or wasn't fully set up. So I kind of gave him a hard time and said, hey, I don't mean to come on and show up your podcast studio, on your own show, whatever, just joking around. And then the guy releases a video yesterday or the day before showing his Overkill podcast studio. I do have a link to it in the description below. But I got to give him props because he did a great job setting up his studio, and he actually incorporated some things that I feel like I need to incorporate as well. For example, he has one of those little circular minimal pop filters kind of on the end of his microphone. And to get it the way that he wanted, he actually modified his mic. He uses not an SM7B, but it looks similar to this. But he actually went in and drilled small holes in there so that he could put a rod here that attaches to the pop filter. So it looks super clean, super minimal. Not something I think I will do because I know that I will mess this up. And he's been doing van builds and things like that. So he's familiar with how to go about, he knows how to weld and do all that kind of stuff. So I'll leave that to him. But one of the things that he was doing that I thought was really cool is he uses a teleprompter. And with this teleprompter, he's got just basically, I think it was like an iPad or a screen of some kind that lays down so that when he's looking into the camera, he's actually looking at his notes. So whether he's recording a video or just trying to get some information in real time as he's talking to people, it looks like he's looking directly at you, but he's looking at his notes. And that's how a teleprompter works. Now, I have a teleprompter. It's I think it's called a Parrot teleprompter. I could be wrong on that, but it's one of these that kind of fits on the end of a lens. It slips on the end of a lens, and then you put a phone underneath it, which is cool. But the problem is I'm using a 12 millimeter lens here. There is a little bit of crop when you're shooting at 4K 30, so it might work here. I tried it when I was shooting 24 frames per second. It was way too wide. It might work now, but even if it does, there's really all you can fit under there is a phone. It would be great, because I have a 7-inch monitor directly here where I'm pointing, mounted on top of this camera. Initially, I didn't have that there. I had to look over here if I wanted to see my framing or look and see, what was going on. But now I moved it up here for the purpose of not looking as disconnected. If, let's say, I'm on like a Zoom call, and it's like right now I'm looking at the screen. If I'm doing a Zoom call and I have a few people on that screen, at least it looks like I'm looking in their general direction versus talking to someone and looking over here at the same time. So instead, I would love to be able to get a teleprompter and do a similar thing he's doing. Maybe find a way to bring this reference monitor, mount it underneath the camera, and then be able to look directly at my framing or my notes or whatever it happens to be, and into the camera. So, excuse me. So, yeah, go check his studio out. He's got some really cool things. He set it up to where it can be kind of modular and to where he can move things around, turn things on and off super easily. So props to Levi Allen. Good job on that. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's see. We've going for 14 minutes so far. I don't know how long this part's going to take, but we're just going to get her done. So once again, like last week, this is going to be a very visual episode. So I do encourage you to watch the video replay if you're listening to the audio only version. But as usual, I will do my best to go through and try to explain what's happening. So with that said, let's go here. Okay, I think that works. So this right now I have Photoshop up on my computer here, and I have two images. So didn't mean to do that. So just to give a little bit of background and context, let me actually come out of this for this explanation here. So I've actually showed some of these film photos in a couple weeks ago, but it was about 4 years ago, April 2017. I just picked up this Canon AE1, which is a popular film camera that was released in the 1970s. This is one of the most popular film cameras. Like, I guess it put Canon on the map. I got it off eBay or at a local antique store or something. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, back in 2017, I popped some film into this, and I had a boxing match coming up that I was wanting to shoot. So I thought, okay, well, I'll bring this and I'll bring my digital camera and we'll get shots on both and just kind of see how it turns out. So I shot the fight, got maybe like 5, 6, 7 film photos, and the rest were all digital. And then I came home, I put this camera on the shelf, and then I forgot about it up until about a few weeks ago. And when I realized that I still had the camera and it was just sitting there, I honestly didn't remember if it had any film in it. But I ended up shooting the rest of the roll, and then I got it developed, and then lo and behold, these film photos were in there. And it turns out 4 years is plenty of time for film to expire. So most of the shots that turned out had this very unique and interesting look. It's not the look that you would typically go for if you were shooting in film and if you wanted high quality, but I'm actually really happy with the way that they turned out, just because, you know, those sort of expired film artifacts, they have a place. I think they look cool. So what I did then was I went back and looked for some of the digital photos that I took. So we'll go back to the screen here. And this is one of the digital shots that I captured from the same fight. And I thought that it matched this image very well, only mirrored. So I thought that this shot would be a good shot to take and try to recreate into this style. So just to kind of, again, for anyone listening to the audio version of this, the fight photo that I took, there's a lot of yellow and a lot of like a yellow and yellowish green. The photos are very, very warm. And then around the edges on the outside, there's a kind of a gray, or not gray, but purple vignette. And it's unclear if that, I don't know enough about film to know exactly where it came from, but it's either, again, a result of the film expiring over the years, or there could maybe be some light that leaks in, that was leaking into the camera, maybe around the lens or something like that. I don't know. But either way, it's got that kind of this purple feel, and then low contrast, and got some nice film grain in there. So we're going to do our best right now to make this digital photo nice, crisp, and clear to look like this film photo. And this digital photo was shot on a Canon 5D Mark III, I believe. And what else was I going to say about it? I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, Canon 5D Mark III. This is a JPEG. I'm not going to be editing a RAW version of this, which, I mean, because we're essentially going to be just over processing the image anyway, so there's really no point in editing RAW. I mean, you could, but I don't think there's a point to it at this point. So let's just go ahead and jump in and get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this background layer just in case, let's say if I mess anything up, I can just kind of restart over and have a fresh slate. So I'm going to go up to Filter, and again, we're in Photoshop here. I'm going to go Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and we're going to start with just some kind of general tweaks here, and just kind of create a good foundation for when we make some additional fine-tuning here in Photoshop. So Camera Raw, if you're not familiar, by the way, is essentially the same. You'll find the same sort of settings and features as you will in Lightroom. The difference being, Camera Raw is typically reserved for making edits to single photos, whereas the value of Lightroom is in being able to apply those edits to multiple photos at the same time, blah, 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 blah. But as far as, just basic tone adjustments, curve adjustments, soft or sharpening and noise reduction, all that, you can find it in Camera Raw. So what I want to do first is we're going to go into the basic adjustments, and I'm going to crank this all the way up, and I might actually bring the exposure down a little bit too. By the way, I've attempted this already, so I've done it before in the hopes that I can do it faster now. If you want to see a side-by-side comparison, you can go to my Instagram. It's one of the more recent photos, but Okay, so we've got it super nice and warm, and I'm actually going to bring the tint to the green side as well, because you'll notice in the film photo, it definitely leans toward the green side a little bit in those yellows. So maybe we'll go about right there. I want to bring these whites down probably all the way, because you don't see any super crazy highlights on the film photo, so I'm going to try to bring those down as low as possible, and we're also going to fine tune those in the curves as well. Highlights also going to bring down. Contrast, I'm going to come down with that. And one thing you'll notice when I bring down contrast is that it sort of gets rid of that yellow color, so we'll have to compensate for that. And that's typical with contrast. When you bump up contrast, the inverse is going to be true. You'll start to see that it becomes way more saturated. So we brought contrast down, and then we can come down here and beef up saturation and vibrance. Might be a little too much there, but let's see. Okay. And then let's see what we want to do with shadows. I think shadows, I'm going to bring the shadows down. You'll notice in the film photo, the background is very underexposed and very dark, whereas here you can kind of see a lot of people still poking through. Maybe bring those highlights down a little bit more again as well. And actually I think I'm going to bring the highlights actually back up. Let's see. Maybe about right there. And we're gonna be jumping back and forth a lot as well. You're gonna see me come back to this. So, because once you change another thing, you kind of have to. It's like some things affect the others. Like the contrast affecting the saturation. You're gonna find that some adjustments are going to affect other adjustments that you've already made. Down here, I'm going to bring the texture and the clarity down. Now, I don't want to go too far with the clarity because you'll notice that it creates kind of a almost like a halo or an angelic effect there, and I don't want it too much. So I'll bring it back. Oops, I just cranked up dehaze. So I'm going to bring up clarity maybe to about right there, I think. Okay. I'm wondering, see, with this yellow or this purple vignetting that's on the other side, you'll notice that, like, for example, in his hair here, it gives purple there. And we're going to add the purple at the end, but I'm wondering, let's see what happens if I crank the, yeah, that's definitely not what we want to do. We don't want to turn the tints to the purple side. We're going to keep them on the green side and maybe a little bit less green. Okay. Dehaze, let's bring that up and see what happens. I kind of don't mind bumping up the dehaze again because it's going to really bring down the shadows in the background. What I'm not liking so far is some of these skin tones. I'm actually bringing the whites back up, and I think I might bring down that saturation a little bit more. That might be a little bit better. Okay, let's stay there. I'm sure we'll come back and visit it, but we're going to play with the curves. Now, one of the things you'll notice in the film photo is the blacks look very crushed, meaning they don't look black. They look a little bit crushed is the only word I can think of that comes to mind, but you'll see what I'm talking about here. So we have our tone curve here, and if we take this point down at the bottom left where all the blacks are and raise it up, you'll see that it kind of it brings that the minimum black level up a bit, and it's going to more closely resemble that of the film photo. So I'm okay with that there. I do need a little bit more contrast back, I think. Bring this up. I'm actually gonna, no, I lied. Let's get the whites taken care of here too. So it's kind of hard to tell there, but so I brought the white point down a little bit too. Again, you wouldn't crush the whites, but again, so that the whites aren't quite as hot. Let's see. No, I don't want to go that way. I definitely want to do something like that. And I think from this, I'm going to make a little bit of an S curve and really try to bring the light out of the background there. Okay. I think that's okay for now. Let's come back to that. We're going to go down to detail. Obviously, I'm not going to do any sharpening. The film photo is very soft. I am going to crank up the noise reduction, though, and lower the detail. Let's see, how far can I go with that? That's So you might be saying, well, if you crank up the noise reduction, then you're going to get rid of any grain that's already in the photo, and there's a lot of grain in the film photo, and that is true. But I find that when you raise the noise, well, I don't find that. This is just what happens. When you raise the noise level, you reduce the amount of detail. And the film photo is super soft, so I'm trying to mimic that. So I'm going to crank up that noise reduction. And again, we're going to be adding an overall layer of grain at the end over all of our edits. So that grain will be coming back. We don't have to worry about that. Don't need to play with that, I don't think. Let's see, color mixer. Let's play with some of these because I'm noticing some differences in the colors. For example, the gloves here. The gloves look a little bit too saturated for me, so I'm going to bring that down. I might even play with the hue of the reds a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. And then luminance, I'm going to crank up. Let's grab the picker here. I'm going to get the skin tones. And let's see. Crank up the luminance a little bit just to make the skin match. And then yellows. Let's see. I'm trying to play with some of the hues a little bit. I think the oranges need to. Yeah, there we go. Oranges need to move a little bit more to the right to match the color there. Okay. Let's see what else we want to do. Trying to playing with colors, playing with these sliders. That's really all it is. It's just kind of tweaking things and getting it where you want. I might even bring up the greens a little bit. I'm going to try to desaturate the canvas here. See what that does. And it doesn't do a whole lot. But you'll notice the canvas is a much different color than the film photo. Let's get that picker again. No, I'm going to leave that for now. I think I might come back and visit that. But let's see actually if we can get it to match more with some of the hue stuff. Not really, but I am going to bring it to this side just to kind of desaturate a little bit. All right. Let's go into the color grading a little bit. So in the film photo, there's a lot of purple in the shadows. Now, again, I think that's kind of a secondary vignette that's added there, but I'm thinking that we can probably get some of that purple into the shadows for now and then add a little bit more later. And I want to go kind of a deepish purple. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to hold the shift key and I'm going to dial that back a little bit. So maybe there, I think. Let's see if we want to do anything to the highlights. Do we want to do any purple in the highlights? Nope. Do we want to do any yellowish, maybe? I don't know. Let me see. Let me turn that off. It's not too bad. What about midtones? Where do we want to go with the midtones here? Do we want to go purple? No. I think midtones is actually asking for more of the yellow. So I'm going to bump some yellow into that. And, you know, I'm actually seeing... I'm seeing a little bit more contrast on the fighters there than I am in my shot here. So I'm going to go up and maybe bring some contrast back. What about the black point? Let's hold Alt here. I don't go too far. What I don't want to do, I don't want to bring the blacks down so much to where I'm still taking all the detail out. I mean, I still want there to be detail. I don't want to damage the actual image. But that's not too bad. I do think, what if I brought this back a little bit? Bringing back the warmth on the temperature slider just slightly to see where that gets us. Because see, it looks like there's a bit more orange in the film shot versus yellow here. So let's go back to the color grading. And And the highlights, I think I'm going to bring that a little bit more to the orange. Maybe there. Oops. Sorry, I know this has got to be super entertaining. I think that looks about right. Okay. Okay. I like that. I'm going to go back to detail, or no, I'm going to go back to curves now. And I want to bring these blacks down there. Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking for a little bit more. So I'm going to put an extra point down to the blacks and really just bring those down. Okay, I think I like that. Let's see, optics, nothing there. Geometry, no. Calibration, I will toggle a little bit of this. So with the shadows, I'm thinking I may put the tilt or the tint a little bit more to the purple side there. Red primary, let's see, do we want to touch anything there? Brought it down just a little bit, it looks like. Okay, not bad. Green primary. Again, I'm gonna bump this up a tiny bit. And then blue primary. Do we want to do anything with that? I think I'm gonna keep that. I just have it at +3, so just a little bit, and maybe bring the saturation down a little bit on that. I'm still having a hard time. See, it's interesting because I don't know. There's like, if you look at the trunks here, the trunks look super dark, yet they look darker than his trunks over here. Let's see, maybe I'll bring down the mids a little bit too. That should help to. Let's see. I'm getting quiet here just because this is gonna be lovely for the audio listeners. All right, let's take a little drink break. Okay, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. I think these initial adjustments are okay, so I'm gonna go hit OK, and you can kind of see the changes that we've made. We made a lot. So original and edits, original and edits. Now we're still not completely there. We got some work to do. But the first thing I want to do is I'm going to add some adjustment layers here. I think the first one I want to add is going to be, let's try a photo filter. There was a warming filter that I liked. Let's crank this all the way up just so we can see what it looks like. Was it 81? Was it? It wasn't that one. Wasn't that one. Okay, so we'll do 81, that warming filter. Bring that up a good amount, maybe. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Was it color balance that I liked? Oh yeah, so this is where with color balance you can kind of fine tune the values in the midtones, highlights, and shadows using the cyan, magenta, and yellow sliders. So let's play with the shadows a little bit. Let's see. Do I want to? Might come a little, just a tiny bit towards the yellow side. And then with the magenta green slider, I'm going to come a little bit to the magenta side. And I think I'm going to leave the cyan red slider alone. Let's look at midtones here. I'm going to bring the midtones a little bit again towards the magenta side. And I think for the most part, the yellow blue slider can stay. And then I may move a little bit to the red side for the midtones and the cyan red slider. Highlights. Haven't done anything here. So, if we bump okay. In the highlights, if we pump some more yellows in there, it kind of gets the luminance, it looks like, to match a little bit better, in my opinion. I think I'm going to bump some yellow here, and then I'm going to come back and do an overall desaturation a little bit later, because it does look a little bit more saturated. Highlights. Nice. Okay. And then I move the highlight slider a little bit to the greens on the magenta and green slider. And then the cyan and red slider, I think I'm going to just keep as is. All right, next, let's bring up a hue saturation slider. So there's a lot that we can do here. I want to do an overall desaturation, just a little bit. I brought it down about 10 points or so of desaturation. Trying to look, let's see, cyans. Let's see if we can desaturate these a little bit. Yeah, I was hoping that would affect the canvas a little bit more, but it didn't. Maybe let me reset that, and then maybe we can accomplish that with the blues. Let's see. No, it's not doing much there either. So I'm going to go ahead and reset that. Okay. I'm not minding this so far. Let me see how his trunks look. His trunks still look like that. I think there's still a little bit too much detail. I got to remember what I did in the last one. I'm going to duplicate this bottom edited layer. You can't see here. I'll turn this off for a second. So right now I've in the beginning I duplicated the background layer, and then I did my edits on that first duplicated layer. Now I've duplicated that layer again because I'm going to, what am I going to do? I don't know. Let's find out. I'm going to add a curves adjustment layer. And let's try again to let's see if we can get these trunks figured out. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to try to adjust the detail. Okay, I'm going to bring the white point down a little bit more again. It's not bad. Maybe bring highlights down slightly. So you want to do that. It adds in a little bit more red. So if I come in here in the midtones, no, I want to go into the, color balance. No, hue saturation, reds. We're going to desaturate the reds a little bit, maybe change the hue on them to, again, we got the gloves kind of got away a little bit in the initial one. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Notice the highlights again are a little off. Let's go back to the yellows here. Let's see if we can bump up. Nope, don't want to do that. I tried adjusting the lightness for the yellows. Didn't want to do that either. The color balance. Highlights. No. What am I missing here? I'm missing something. Master yellows. See, I can bring up the lightness on those, and then I just got to reintroduce some more saturation. We're still getting, again, when we do that, looks like we introduce more red. I'm going to come back into the curves here and bring these back up, see if I can salvage that a little bit. Okay. So now I feel like we need to go back into the hue saturation and add some overall saturation back. All right. Okay, I think I'm okay with this. Now I'm going to go in this layer here, and I want to go up to filter, and I want to go to noise. No, I want to go to blur, and then I want to go to lens blur. This is, I think, where I'm going to be able to get rid of some of that additional detail. So right now I've got a radius. Like if I crank this radius all the way up, obviously you've got way too much blur. But if I bring this down to, let's say, a value, now it looks a little soft there, but if I bring it down to maybe a value of 3, then it looks like we're getting a little bit closer. I almost think maybe 2. What's this blade curvature? No, I don't need that. Let's see, specular highlights. No, I don't want that. I don't know what that's even doing, but okay, whatever. Do I want to do noise here? No, I don't want to do, no, I don't want to do noise there. I'm going to do that a different way. Okay, but that I think is, it's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. Okay, we're going to hit OK on that. Again, I'm going to go back into, was it curves? I'm going to bring the highlights down a little bit. See, again, back and forth, back and forth. That's really all it is. All right, so now that we're here, I think what I want to do is I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to grab a brush, a nice soft brush. Okay, and then I'm going to find a good purple color, and we're going to start painting in, go a little lighter, start painting in some of these highlights. Now, this is going to look like overkill initially, and actually I'm going to make this a little bigger, but we are going to fix that. Okay, so we'll come in here, and we're just going to kind of go all around the edges, create a nice little purple vignette. And then we're going to use some blend modes to make this look a little bit more natural and part of the picture. I noticed that in the film photo, this one's obviously looking up a little bit more, so you see more of the ceiling, but you don't see any of those yellow highlights coming through in the film photo here. You just see them more on this shot. So I want to kind of really get those purples in there. And then let's look at some of these different blend modes. I don't want overlay. Soft light isn't bad, but it's not exactly what I'm going for. I don't want to multiply. I don't want to lighten or a screen. There was one. Where was one that I did? No, I don't want any of those. Hue, no. Okay, I think I'm going to go with a soft light on that. And I'm going to duplicate that, and then let's resize this here. Bring this down. Okay, so we're definitely a little bit hot with the, I'm going to get rid of that actually. I'm going to turn that off for now. Bring this, I'm going to change the blend mode back to normal for a minute there. Bring the opacity down on this one and see if that gives me a look that I like. And kind of, it does sneak in, so I think maybe I'll bring it down, and then maybe on this one we'll do that hard light, and we'll let some of that purple light peek through at the top. But I think if you don't look at the grain, or without the grain, I think it's similar. I think it's not too bad. I might dial this one down a little bit more. Okay, so now I need to go back to my hue and saturation. I'm noticing that there's need to bump the saturation up. I think I need to come back in here to color balance and play with the highlights a little bit more. Again, bump up those. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Move those there. I am going to go in here. I'm going to go back into Camera Raw. I know there's probably a lot of Photoshop people out there that are screaming at me at the moment. I edit very destructively, but it is what it is. I'm going to bring these highlights down a little bit more. Or was I bringing them up? No, I think I didn't bring them down. It looks about right, yeah. And maybe bring this texture down some more. No, I don't want to go too far with that. Oops. Now I'm all over the place. Okay. Texture down. Not bad. And then we'll hit OK there. And all right. I feel like I did better when I did this the other day. But that's okay. Oh, all right, there we go. I'm going to bring the lightness down here in the hue saturation as well, and that seems to kind of cut down on some of those super bright highlights. I think that's actually pretty good. I like that. All right, so now I'm pretty happy with where we are with this. There's a couple things that I'm not a fan of. I know the canvas is still a little bit different color, and I'm not finding a good way to adjust that. So I think we're gonna push past that. I want to create one more layer here. How long have we been doing this? I got 45 minutes. Y'all must be bored out of your minds. So this new layer is going to be our grain. And I actually had to look up how to do this, but no, I don't want anything there. Or maybe I do. I think I want a gray layer. Oh, shoot. I forgot how I did this. Was that it? No. Hold on. All right. Color is gray. Normal. What did I do here? I don't remember. Wait a minute. Layer. New. Was it new layer? Was it layer style? No, it wasn't new layer. Use previous layer to create clipping mask. I don't want to do that. I don't want none. Oh wait, was it overlay? Fill, there it is. I think that was it. I'm going to change it to gray just to be safe. There we go. Okay, so now we have an overlay layer of gray, and to this layer we can go in and add our grain. So we're going to go to noise, add noise, and this is where you can kind of fine tune that. I'm looking. Actually, I like the grain size. I think what we'll probably do though is we'll add the grain here. Maybe bring this size down a little bit. That's looking pretty good, actually. Okay, we're going to do that, and then we're also going to go to filter, and we're going to go to blur, and we're going to go to Gaussian blur. And there we go. This is where the effect kind of gets driven home. So Gaussian blur is going to take that film grain and just sort of soften it a little bit. You'll notice that there's, we'll hit OK on that. We'll bring this film photo up. You'll notice that there's not, like the grain here. Let's see, let's zoom in. And we get real zoomed in. You can kind of see it just looks pixelated, but you don't see individual specks of grain per se. Now let's see if we got it pretty similar here. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. I think that's actually pretty good. So, yeah, man. I think we're just about done. So again, not perfect. It's going to be difficult to get it exactly the same. There's still some minor differences in there. I still see a little bit more detail than I would like in the shorts. Also, I should note that the film camera I was shooting on was, I had a 50 millimeter lens with an f1.8 aperture maximum. I had to shoot at an f1.8 because the film that I was shooting with was 400 film, and I typically shoot at an ISO of anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000, depending on the lighting. So that means that I had to keep the aperture nice and wide, and as a result, and by the way, you're manual focusing, which is hard enough as it is, but try doing that with two fighters moving around in the ring a whole bunch. So yeah, this shot is definitely going to be soft. So this one is not perfect. Definitely looks definitely looks, you know, what's the word? Just detailed, more detailed in the shot. But I think overall, with the grain and kind of the colors and the little purple vignette, I think that's, I would call that a success. Wouldn't you? Anybody? Anywho, okay. I'm going to call this one done. So there you go. That is how, in 800 simple steps, that is how you accomplish the expired film look. Oh, this is a long one. Went longer than I thought. Anywho, my watch is telling me I got to stand up now. Well, I appreciate you all for being here with me. And if you are still here with me and you enjoyed what you saw, it would be great if... Oh, hold on. Let me come back out of there. There we go. It would be great if you could hit that subscribe button wherever you happen to be watching or listening, and follow me on social media at Ryan Hafey on Instagram and Twitter. Feel free to stop by and ask me a question, or just, come say hi. That's always fun as well. But For now, I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. Thanks again for watching. Keep on creating, making, and doing, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.